Hey everyone, welcome back to Theory of Everything presentation part 15, video 2. This is the finale. This is the very last video of the whole entire show, I promise you. Again, if you're still with me after this whole consortium of information, thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough. We left off talking about justice, this concept, and how justice is really big in the eyes of God. There's this classic symbolism with the blindfolded judge holding balancing scales. One of my favorite shows, it shows up over and over again, and you see it in courthouses, architecture, and if you take nothing else from this series regarding justice, understand this concept of fair preponderance of evidence. And it's like essentially what it's all about, justice. It's like the tipping of the scales, the 51% in the favor of the plaintiff versus the defendant, like one side versus the other. Like when you weigh all of the evidence and you have that proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And it's a big concept regarding justice. And I have a huge disdain for doctors, as you know from my various presentations in the past. And they try to play God, and like I said before, like at some point in time they're probably giving a speech right before they're ready to graduate. You are now esteemed members of society. You will decide who lives and who dies, and like they have all these eugenics lists and all these eugenics programs, and it's just sickening and sad and maddening. And I truly believe that God has a special place in hell for these people, and it's really a joke. Compared, like Western medicine is absolutely a joke compared to Eastern medicine. I mean, like stuff that the Chinese and other Asian cultures had thousands and thousands of years ago is like just decimates what we have today with the poison and everything else that they show. And it's like from a pathology perspective, it's absolutely maddening. It's not even worth going into anymore. Lawyers are not much better. I have a degree in business and criminal justice. I've often considered going back to attempt law school. But go to a legal library for 10 minutes and attempt to research case law and tell me if there's anything that is closer resembling hell. Also, I have a conspiracy about, becoming a lawyer that like basically one of two, I talked about, or even a doctor. Basically, one of two things had to happen to become a lawyer or a doctor. One, your daddy paid a lot of money for you to be there and you're going to conform to his rigid set of standards and basically his, country club friends. And it's all about this this image of like status at that point. And then, or number two, you're going to be several $100,000 in student loan debt, and you're going to conform because you have to, and you have no choice, or you're going to default on your loans, and the rest of your life is going to be miserable. And it's a huge conspiracy how the whole medical community is controlled, and it's not getting any better, in my opinion. I often thought that being a judge would be a really cool job. Michael the Archangel in the Bible is a judge. He holds the book of life. And when you understand that, like, to be a judge, like how important of a job this really is. I mean, you must be absolutely unbiased. I mean, you like, if say you're a judge and like you see some punk kid coming in with tattoos, like with poor attitude, and like you darn well in your head that this kid's guilty, but like you have to in your head block out that any preconceived notions of this, and you have to look at it from like a pure justice standpoint and like just without bias at all. And to do this is very, very difficult. And one of the major barriers that we have in this country, in this world, and like that's why I think it would be such a cool job. You can't be into this, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. You have to transcend through all that nonsense. And it's just a really interesting point there to make as well. And there's so many various aspects of law. I mean, there must be 40, 50 different types of law that you can specialize in. And it's really almost gotten a little bit carried away, in my opinion. I think like that we need to go back to like, more of like a simplified approach to like more like the Amish have, like, just not all the nonsense and BS that we have that's metastasized in 2021 and the thuggery of all the lawyers and just the nonsense from the Zionists. Also, it's important that the cops and I thank all the good law enforcement professionals that we have out there. Cops get a very bad name, but there's a lot of good police officers. I know what I'm saying is true, and they see firsthand, the nonsense that goes on in our mad world. And I really believe that alcohol is a lot of the like it was. forget, in Chester County, Pennsylvania, where I live, at one point, like, I want to say like 60% or 70% of like all the legal issues were like DUI related. And I see that going by the wayside a little bit. But like, if you were a police officer in the last 10 years, I mean, you had to see firsthand, what happened with the whole heroin epidemic. And it's insane. And, like, it was like a whole entire Holocaust. Like, this being said, I'm also going to tell you that, like, if you ever run into legal troubles, know your rights and stand for your rights. Don't talk to police officers. It's not to your advantage to talk to the cops at all. Like, let them take you to jail. Tell them that you want your trial by jury, and, like, go through the discovery phase, get all the facts that they have against you. And, you'll know, like, what evidence they have. And the evidence that they have, like, even for certain things like police lineups, I believe, are unconstitutional. Like, like certain states have entrapment laws, for instance. Certain states, you're not allowed to take video or photograph of people without their consent. And, like, what evidence do they have against you? And, like, there's and then, like if they have it, like, if witnesses against you, then you have the confrontation clause of the 6th Amendment, which basically says that you're, like, anybody that's going to accuse you, you have a right to, like, question them in court. Are these people of a sound mind? Are they taking pharmaceutical pills? Are they on drugs? Were they on alcohol when this happened? Like, just little things like this. The idiosyncrasies of law. In many cases, I believe you're better off being your own attorney. And, like I said, fight and fight and fight. And, don't be afraid to ask questions. And just, if you got up in front of a judge and a jury, with minimal knowledge of law, and basically just, articulated yourself very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I prepare to present to you, evidence vindicating me of any, criminal activity. And this, just something like this. Just talk like an attorney, think of it like an attorney, and talk like an attorney, and you'll find that we don't need them. And like I said, just know your rights. And the right to a trial by jury is a huge, huge thing. I've traveled many places, and I'm going to tell you, cherish your rights and fight for them. Teach your kids to embrace freedom under law. Like I told you before, in Russia, almost nobody smiles because it's like this communist, tyrannical system that was in place for many years. And you either have money or you don't have money, and you're either one or the other. And, like I said, when you're born into this mentality, it's like you're born into captivity, and you don't even know what true freedom is, like a caged, enslaved circus animal or something. And your kids have, you never have a chance of even giving your kids a better life than you did. And basically, there's this notion, in at least America and other developed countries, that you need to be a doctor or a lawyer or some other type of professional to achieve, self-edification. The truth is, this understanding has perpetuated a high level of economic inequality and lowered the overall level of consciousness for everyone but the elites and their kids. We need mailmen, we need trashmen, we need police officers, we need truck drivers, and other forms of skilled labor to make a unified and beautiful republic. Please do not rely on the federal government for help or to come and save you. In most cases, the doctors and the lawyers and also the federal bureaucracy are the problem. It is self-evident that we are, heading towards globalized government. Soon, all financial transactions and communications basically will go through one hub. The question is, who's going to control this? And, if you've watched all the hours of my presentations, and, like I said, I sincerely thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I don't emphasize enough, how much people are trying to suppress me, and also, like, this whole suppression about the ABRH negative bloodline. And, basically they want to steal it, and they'll never get what they want just by stealing it. As we end here, I want us to go back in time. I want to just go back in time, thousands and thousands of years ago, when life was much simpler. There were no problems. There were no provisions of time or adherence to any type of conformity or schedule. There were no tolls, crowded roads. There were no taxes. We didn't have to go to vote every 4 years to elect our captors. There were no alarm clocks and police or fire sirens. In fact, there was basically, no BS as we know it. Like, there was, you didn't have to take our SATs and college entrance exams. There were no cocktail parties where some wasps talked about how special their kids are. The reality is, the reality is there's no need for a clock. You know, we are controlled. We control the manifestation of our own existence. You know, we weren't told how to live or how to die. And like I said, this marks the end of my Theory of Everything presentation series. I hope to see you again soon. I will check in from time to time. Maybe some of my recipes, maybe some of my suppressed medical science stuff. And we'll see where it all takes us in the near and upcoming future.
Can I get with